Back to the show. Now, this morning on Good Morning Sri Lanka, we always try to speak about different topics of interest, topics that every one of our viewers should be aware of, things that are happening here in Sri Lanka, issues that should be getting even more attention, I think, than they are getting in present society. But today we're speaking about suicide, the incidence of suicide in Sri Lanka, as well as what leads to it. And there may be those of our viewers who at some point in your life have even met people who have come close to the edge, who have come close to feeling that they have no other options in life. So there are many other tools as well that can help you get over these hurdles, these obstacles that come in life. And some people also turn towards the internet when it comes to seeking help, to finding out solutions for their problems. And we actually have a video for you, a little clip on for those who have met someone who was considering suicide at some point in their life. So this is to give you a small overview of this matter. So let's go take a look.
You've impacted so many people, your family, your friends, members in your community. Over the course of your whole life, it adds up, even if it doesn't feel like it. You would be deeply missed by your loved ones, who'd have to cope with your permanent absence, and who would miss you and grieve for you forever. Seek support. Start by channeling your emotions into a song, a poem, a diary entry, to give voice to your feelings and help you further understand them. Then, share what you've come up with someone you trust, a neighbor, a best friend, a cousin, even a counselor. Face the fear. You might have been having suicidal thoughts for some time, or maybe they've only recently snuck up on you. Certain people or events might trigger dark thoughts. Bullying, abuse, the death of a loved one. It's totally normal to feel sadness from painful experiences like these. But it's not healthy to spiral into a suicidal mindset and believe that death is the only solution to ending this pain. In fact, your belief that suicide is the only way out might be linked to something else. Depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, or schizophrenia are often present in the suicidal, in almost 90% of those who end their own lives. Like a disease, at work in your own body, these mental illnesses are diagnosable and treatable. Just because the symptoms aren't visible doesn't mean a real disease isn't present. And understanding the influence of a pre-existing condition will help lift you out of the space where suicidal thoughts fester. The bad news is, you and thousands of others are deeply suffering. The great news is, there is hope. Seek help. Suicidal thoughts aren't treatable, but the illnesses associated with them certainly are. There are many different ways that you can silence those internal voices without permanently silencing yourself. Many clinics and counseling centers provide confidential support and even offer affordable resources or medication if that's what you need. If you don't find a counselor you like at first, it's okay to keep looking. Counseling comes in many different shapes and sizes. Group counseling, over-the-phone counseling, or one-on-one. Find out what works best for you. This might be a lifelong process. And that's okay. Life is hard, but you don't have to bear it alone.
Life is hard, but you don't have to bear it alone.
Exactly.
That's the message that Sumitra gives out as well,
Right.
isn't it? What do you think of that video? Do you agree with some of the things that were said? Lakshmi?
I don't like the voice.
The voice.
It's
maybe not very calming.
No, it's not calming. It's very aggressive. There is no compassion.
I guess that's where Sumitra comes in. You always get the compassion that you need
Yes.
when it comes to dealing with any problem.
Because really, when you are befriending a very distressed person, sometimes you don't have to say a word. You know, the volunteers, your face, your eyes, everything reflects.
Of course.
That's
all it
you are
takes.
and that's all that is needed, really, for someone who is very distressed and who is to know that somebody cares, to know that somebody is really listening, to know that somebody is trying to understand.
That's the most important thing, I'm
yes.
sure. But exactly, when you speak about even youngsters, the youth, who may even have a friend who has told them, I have a problem like this, I don't want to, I can't face this any longer, I don't see a solution to these problems, and somehow they also don't know who to turn to, because there is a stigma that's associated with depression, there's a stigma that's associated with having negativity around you, and many people are not willing to open up about their problems. So how can you deal with someone who is going through these issues at a personal level?
One thing I would say now, even this video, so it talks a lot about mental depression, you see, and one of the things that deters people from talking about suicidal feelings, that they are feeling suicidal, is because they will be branded as mentally ill. And we have heard this before from the people.
I see.
They are worried, and they ask us, do you think I am mad? You see, I have been doing some work not only in Sri Lanka but internationally, and we find that though in the European countries, in the developed countries, depression plays a large role in suicide, both in China and I feel in Sri Lanka, and in the rural areas in India. There is more, depression doesn't play such a big part. A fair amount of our people who are suicidal have depressive illnesses, you see, have depression. A fair amount of them would be depression, they would be definitely helped by seeing a psychiatrist. But you can't say that all of them are.
It really depends on the situation.
Depends on the situation, and depends on the this thing. And especially the younger people, they don't have such developed coping capacities. You see, so that any situation then can throw them off balance, where they could make an attempt at suicide. And really, the attempted suicides are very high amongst the below 30s.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh.
And much lower in the older people. Very much lower.
Yeah, I agreed in that when you're say for a young person to write down, say in the form of a poem or a song, about his or her feelings, that helps, doesn't it?
Yes, of course it
It's like, you have no one, and maybe he doesn't know about Sumitra, sits down and writes everything down. And into a song, into a poem, yes, it's like unburdening.
Or even into a letter.
Yes, and all of these things can be therapeutic. There's so many different paths you can take. There are so many people who are willing to help anyone before you have to think about doing any drastic measures or taking any drastic measures when it comes to dealing with any problems that you might have. It may seem small to you, it doesn't matter. It's not small to someone else. Nothing is too small, and there are always people who are willing to help you out. And Sri Lanka Sumitra is one of these organizations. We're going for a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. It's all about lending a helping hand this morning on Good Morning Sri Lanka, and of course we have Lakshmi and Melanie from Sri Lanka Sumitra organization with us this morning in the studio. And before we speak to them a bit more about how Sri Lanka stands when it comes to the regional picture as well, when it comes to the incidence of suicide, we have another video that's ready for you to have a look and see about how you can help someone who is considering taking drastic measures. So let's go see this video before we come back to our discussion.
Have you ever had someone just want to end it all? Permanently? It's never easy to think about or hear. Yes, life can get so complicated and overwhelming, it's hard to even imagine that things would ever get better again. But most people bounce back. Unfortunately, some don't. Suicide is a tragedy that affects everyone, and it's one of the leading causes of death for people 24 and younger. Here's what to do if you suspect a friend might be having thoughts of suicide. Tip 1. Learn to recognize dangerous signs. Has your friend talked about feeling hopeless or anxious? Have you noticed a change in your friend's behavior, acting withdrawn, sleeping less, sleeping a lot more? Maybe they're abusing alcohol or drugs, giving away their belongings. Maybe your friend has even talked about hurting themselves, or worse, wanting to die. Tip 2. Initiate dialogue in a non-judgmental way. Sit your friend down in a comfortable or familiar environment where the two of you can talk privately and freely. Start by telling your friend how much you care about them, but some of their behaviors have concerned you. Household items like pills or razor blades, they quickly become lethal weapons in the hands of a suicidal person. Tip 3. React with feeling. If your friend does confide in you thoughts of suicide, be compassionate and make it known that you're there to listen. Don't aim to change their mind, start an argument, or give advice. Many people who attempt suicide don't actually want to die. They just want their suffering to end, and suicide seems like the only avenue. Engage in conversation with your friend and find out what's hurting them. Tip 4. Shift the focus from sources of pain to resources for treatment. In addition to external challenges, your friend might also be fighting internal demons that require professional care. Depression, anxiety, and other mood disorders are often present in the suicidal. Many of these illnesses can be diagnosed and treated. Encourage your friend to seek help and offer to work with them to locate a mental health professional or clinic. We strongly recommend looping their family members into this process. Tip 5. Lastly, stay connected, even after your friend has sought help and seems to be on the path to healing. Encourage other friends, roommates, and family members to check in on your friend during this vulnerable time. This is an especially important step, since many suicides occur in a period of apparent improvement. You can save a life just by reaching out to someone who's in need.
So another beautiful video there.
Yeah, that's a good video.
And also, when the video was going on, actually, I wanted to ask you, how important is it? Now, these individuals reach out to you as a single person on their own to speak about the problems. But do you encourage them to also get their family or anyone who is close to them involved?
Definitely, if they are suicidal, yes.
Okay, and that's very important, isn't it?
Very important, because a suicidal person, their support systems have collapsed, a lot of their support systems. So we have to build up support systems for them.
Okay.
So one way is to, encourage them to bring their families, somebody close to them in, allow us to contact somebody close to them with their permission. You see that they are not alone.
And all this groundwork is also done by you to help them really make a very, very solid recovery and get back on their feet.
That's right.
But when we speak about, now we've spoken about Sri Lanka, but what's the comparison between Sri Lanka as well as other countries within the region at this moment? What are there any statistics that say that there's a greater incidence of suicide in Asia as a whole, because there are many developing countries?
In the Kerala district, they find that the rate of suicide was very high, especially among the students. So much so that when the examination, the results are out, they keep the centers open 24 hours.
Really?
Yes.